Blog Talk Radio.
When people are oppressed to the extent that we are oppressed, where we are in a death camp, some people really want to die. And I think that seeing our people in mass, in churches, is just a cry for help and relief to get off of the planet. So that's why I created Subtle Suicide. See, a lot of our people really want to die. I mean, they really do want to die. You remember this movie with Charles Bronson, Death Wish? They want to die, but they don't have the courage to jump off a bridge or jump in front of a car or even blow their own brains out. They don't have that kind of courage. That takes a lot of heart to do that. So they commit different forms of subtle suicide. And this whole thing about the religion is just another form of subtle suicide. It's like being on a merry-go-round. Generation after generation, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, passing this toxicity on. So if they want to do it, I don't know, man. I'm at the point where, that's be my guest. But if you see it hasn't worked, it's just like a drug addict. If I see somebody get strung out on heroin, and I see them on the corner nodding and drooling from the mouth, I'm going to say, hey, that's an example. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that because I see that doesn't work. So if the people are doing this, I look at it, as I said, both ways. The people are in there because they have this death wish. They're looking for relief. And it's also, in my estimation, an expression of low self-esteem. They're in there looking for something external. And it's not happening. It happened 300-400 years. Why? What makes us think it's going to happen now? So they're just wasting their time, man. And I think that they could use their time wiser if they had a mission of focusing on the solution to the problem.
Context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade, Justice, in for another program to share constructive information on racism, white supremacy, what it is, and how it works. I just want to do a quick sound check because my line was breaking up a little bit, so I want to double check to make sure you all could hear that sound clip crystal clear. Our guest joining us again on the context of white supremacy. She has been with us several times and always has fantastic information to share. She co-authored Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, excellent work on racism, white supremacy. You can go to the website, which is linked in the description for this program. If you click on the title of the book, it will take you to their address, which is TrojanHorse1.com, Trojan Horse 1, the number 1. So TrojanHorse1.com. You can read more about the book. You can buy a copy of the book, which I would highly recommend. And you can, get their email address if you want to send them anything, if you have already got a copy of the book. But joining us again, Pam. Pam, are you there, and can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can. How are you, Gus?
Okay. I'm doing as well as possible under these conditions. I am, it's still breaking up. I don't know why, but it's breaking up on my end. So I'm going to hang up and dial back in just to see if that will clear my end up. But as long as you all can hear everything clear, we are outstanding. Well, I'm going to leave you on the line, so you'll be good. If you would like to tell the folks, I guess, in case they have not heard you previously on this program or with Sister Nefertari, if you would like to tell them a little bit about yourself and tell them about the book, that would be great. And give me 30 seconds, I'll be right back. But please feel free to share anything you would like in the interim. Oops.
Okay. My name is Pam, and as Gus said, I've been a guest on the show. I believe this is my fourth time. And today we're talking about the Tyler Perry production of For Colored Girls Who Are Considered Suicide. And the book, which that I'm a co-author of, is called Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. And there are several authors. And the reason that we wrote the book was to help validate all the non-white and particularly black people who are seeing and feeling their oppression, but don't have an outlet for it, don't have it validated by other people, are made to believe that they have a problem because they're seeing and feeling the reality that we're all in. So we basically wanted to just validate those people, validate ourselves, and put out the information that we thought would be constructive in the fight against white supremacy. And while Gus is calling back in, I'd like to mention we have a second book coming out, and it will be out, we hope, in perhaps the second week in November, possibly the first week, but definitely by the second week in November, and it's going to deal with black male, black female relationships and why the gender wars exist between black men and women, where they started, what caused them, why they were deliberately created, why they are still being deliberately created. And this production by Tyler Perry, we believe, is another piece of ammunition in creating more divisiveness and anger and resentment between black men and women. And our view is anything that white Hollywood puts out is always promoting white supremacy, regardless of whether a black name is on it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I almost went with a different sound clip to start the program. I remember speaking with Neely Fuller Jr. Back in January. It was, I believe, the fifth time he was on the program, and he said we were talking about violence, and he said if you look closely at the Oscar Award that's given out every year, it's carrying a sword. He said, you got to look closely, but it's holding a sword. He said, that is the culture in which we live, racism, white supremacy. They are constantly celebrating, rewarding violence. And I totally agree. This is just another facet of racism, white supremacy, promoting violence and conflict between black males and black females. Hopefully that'll come out in the broadcast. And that sound clip, right on. I hope that will be crystal clear. I'm going to play it one more time before the program ends to really hammer that home. But the main theme, the key word for this program, commiserate, to express or feel sympathy or pity, to sympathize. Key word, keep that in mind as we roll. But with that sound clip, he talked about a lot of black people, because we're suffering under these conditions, we want to die. Now, the film that Tyler Perry's doing for Colored Girls, this is based on the play. They shortened the title. The full title of the play that this is based on, written by Ntozake Shange, is For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. This came out in the mid to late 70s. Very popular, ran a long time. A lot of people, they already knew about this play. They were highly anticipating this. But just keep that in mind as we roll. Wow. Okay. Pam, did you see this? Did you see this play, I guess, in the 70s or in the 80s when it first came out and there was a big buzz about this?
I saw it. I don't think I saw it when it first came out, but I saw it. I saw the play years ago. It's been a while. Yes, I did. Okay. And at the time, I thought, me not knowing and understanding how me being this confused, more confused than I am now, I did not understand the politics behind it, or I did not understand the intent. I won't even say the intent, but I had the view that it was a play, and it gave black women a chance to express their unhappiness. So that was what I thought at first, but I have a different opinion now.
I have a question I want to follow up, but I have the free HD because the phone lines have already filled up. So if you are listening and you think you might want to call in either to listen or to talk, this is what you can do. Dial 760-569-7676. That number again is 760-569-7676. You can dial that number. The code that you need is 564943. The code again is 564943. So dial 760-569-7676, and then the code 564943. And you can listen or talk unlimited. So if you'd rather listen on your phone, dial that number and you should be good to go. Okay. You said initially when you saw it, when you were a little more confused about racism, white supremacy, you felt like it gave this play gave black females an opportunity to express some of the things that they were unhappy about. What exactly were they expressing, I guess, frustration about in this play when you saw it?
Well, I thought it was expressing frustration about the quality of relationships between black men and women. You know, that black women felt oppressed and degraded, not just by white society, but by black men. And there's truth to that. But you look at it in the bigger scope of things, the main thing that stands out to me now is the type of film and literature, plays and books that get attention from the white media and the white press. And they seem like they all have the same theme, and that is black people are miserable, not because of white people or white supremacy, but because of other black people. So when I look at it in that view, and I saw the amount of accolades that Ntozake, I can't say her name, Shange, the lady that... I'm not good at pronouncing her name, but the creator of the play, when I looked at how much press and media she got for that, it wasn't that she wasn't talented. Of course she was talented. The whole thing is there are a lot of talented black people, and I suspect, and I could almost guarantee that had she named this play for colored girls who have considered suicide when white supremacy is enough, she would not have gotten any attention from the white media. So it seems like there's a definite pattern in the kind of books like Toni Morrison and Alice Walker and the kind of things that win awards, Academy Awards and Pulitzer Prizes, and the handful of black authors, probably one or two that have actually made it onto the Oprah Show. They always promote the miserable state of being a black person, not why black people may be miserable. Black people are only miserable because black people are just unlucky, and they were just born black. And because of other miserable black people and low down and degraded and inhuman black people, that's the reason for black misery.
Double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's always that message underneath everything that they acknowledge worthwhile created by black people. It always has that undercurrent. Or the other undercurrent is black people who are rescued by white people. So it's always promoting white supremacy. Always, always, always. Always. So I have a different view of the play now and why it got the attention that it got. Even though it was very, it was a very talented young, lady that that wrote it. I mean, she did create an interesting play, a very insightful play, but she wouldn't have gotten any attention if she had blamed the problems of black women on white people.
I agree completely. Actually, this program addressing this film, we are way ahead of the curve. This film is not supposed to come out in theaters until November 5th, and I'm hoping that non-white people, as we get better in our understanding of racism, white supremacy, we'll be ahead of the curve. We won't be like when Color Purple came out. It comes out, and then you have arguing, bickering between black males and black females, blaming one another for their problems, as opposed to white people. As we get better, we will see when films like this come out and try to pit black males and females against one another. We'll see it. We'll already have a game plan for what we're going to say. If the film comes up, if someone asks us about it, and everything to point everything back at white people. White people are the problem. But I saw just a few hours before the program, right and exact, I don't believe in coincidence, I said that a bunch. Oprah Winfrey's guest on her show today was none other than Tyler Perry.
Right.
Did you catch any of that show?
No, but one of the co-authors actually called me up a couple of hours ago and told me that he had seen like a little clip. He didn't watch the show, so I'm going to watch it tonight. But it's so, what's the word? Crafty. Very shrewd and crafty for him to appear on the show. And you know what he was talking about, right? He was talking about sexual abuse. His sexual abuse. You know, and of course, Oprah has said in the past that she's been sexually abused. But a person, Kitty Kelly, I believe, who wrote I would call it expose, a biography of Oprah, claimed that she had interviewed Oprah's relatives, and they claim Oprah just makes up stories. Now, I don't want to be on here, denying or challenging their story about sexual abuse as children. I have no idea what happened, but I know that it does fit. If it's not true, it certainly fits into that scheme of black being miserable because of other black people. So you have to kind of wonder, what is really going on.
Yeah, I saw that early on that was what they were going to be talking about. I had pulled one of the. I'll read it now. I looked at one of those articles, and let's see. This is from. Okay. This is from iVillage.com. iVillage.com. If you do a search for iVillage and Tyler Perry, I'm certain it'll pop up on Google. But it says, and this just came out today, Tyler tells Oprah, I was sexually abused as a child. And it says, Tyler Perry suffered so much physical, sexual, and emotional abuse growing up that he tried to kill himself, but he eventually found the inner strength to overcome his harrowing childhood and even forgive his perpetrators, he said on Wednesday's The Oprah Winfrey Show. The successful actor, writer, director, and movie studio owner, whose film For Colored Girls opens November 5th, and who is listed among the most wealthy celebrities, told Winfrey that he is speaking out now in an effort to lift the shame for men who've endured similar abuse. Perry, 41, said his childhood in New Orleans was a living hell, in quotes, and recounted repeated verbal assaults and physical beatings from his father. He hated me so much, and I couldn't understand why, in quotes. Perry said he was also sexually assaulted at age 5 or 6 by a neighbor and then by a male nurse in a hospital, by a man in a church who used God and the Bible against me, in quotes, and later by the mother of a friend. Predators know when a child is an easy mark, in quotes. When he got through, he said what got him through, what got him through, he said, was an ability to leave myself and take his mind to a park until the abuse ended. That strategy usually worked, except for one particular horrendous beating from his father, which he said caused him to black out for 3 days. I think I died that day, he said of his emotional state and he later slit his wrists. His mother, whom Perry said also was abused by his father, was too passive to help. She did not have the backbone to stand up herself, so certainly she couldn't stand up for me, he said. Still, she was his saving grace because she took him to church and helped him find faith. She died last year. As a result of repeated abuse, Perry became violent, he said, burning down a house and a car, stealing and being kicked out of school. He also had intimacy and sexual problems. But his life started to turn around when he was 28, he said, when he finally confronted his father on the phone and told him how the abuse affected him. He was then able to gain the realization that even though those things happened to me, it was not me, he said. There's like one more paragraph, but I found that interesting for a myriad of reasons. And I don't want to make light of anyone's trauma. I mean, he's certainly a victim of white supremacy, but just comparing that or taking that information and then looking at his body of work, someone who has made hundreds of millions of dollars dressing up as a female. Wow. Did anything stick out to you from that particular article?
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like tricky territory, because I'm not here to victimize anybody or make light, as you said, of anybody's abuse. I just am not one of those people that because you say it, I got to believe it's true. I don't know what's true, but I will tell you this is, in my opinion, is it's curious to me at the least that he comes on a week, a week or so before he's going to release this movie with a story about his sexual abuse. And it's interesting that him and Oprah have this connection of having the stories about their sexual abuse, and that they both contributed, or they're producers on the Precious film, which was about, again, black people being abused by other black people, and how these images that they create, Oprah, for example, the only thing that Oprah seems to promote when it comes to black people is black degradation. And she seems to promote it in such a way that there's no empathy for black victims. Black people are always the villains. For example, she was going to have that show on when that white female lied and said that a black woman had put acid, thrown acid in her face,
yes,
and
ma'am.
said, "Here you go, pretty girl." And then turns out that she had been invited on the Oprah show, and I guess she backed out, and that's what clues them that she might be lying. That's what story I read. And I'm thinking, like, wait a minute. Why would she be on Oprah's show? Why would Oprah choose this white female to come on her show who had been victimized by a black female? Why would this be on Oprah's show? And she's a black female. She knows that promotes stereotypes, and she's a black female. And I thought, I flipped the script in my mind, because I always do that to see if it makes sense. And I said, well, wait a minute. Had it been a black female who had accused a white female of throwing acid in her face and said the white female said, "Here you go, pretty girl," would Oprah have invited her on the show to make white women look like they were jealous of black women? No. So my question is, it's just interesting how these two seem to be on the same page. They both claim to have been abused. They both seem to have serious issues with black men and with black people on some level. They both seem to promote, for the most part. Now, I've liked a couple of Tyler Perry films. I got to give him credit. He came from nothing and he became successful. My question is, successful doing what? So it just seems like they are linked somehow in some kind of joint effort to promote white supremacy, in my opinion. And I thought Precious was a perfect example of that, because I asked people, would they have put a movie together in white Hollywood about a white female who acted like Monique did in Precious and asked her white daughter for oral sex? Would that have ever made it onto the screen with a white female asking her white daughter to give her, And I said, I can't even imagine white people making a film like that about white people. So I just found it curious that those two have buddied up and that they both seem to be on the same page, and that he comes out a week or so before his movie. You know, it's almost like the sympathy. It's almost like buy a ticket for me out of sympathy. I don't know. Wow. But that's me. I'm kind of, I may be somewhat cynical, but I don't buy it. Everything they do for a reason. Everything that appears on the TV screen, particularly endorsed and allowed to be televised, is there for a reason.
I mean, this is Oprah. We're not talking about, you know, some sideshow at Blog Talk Radio. We're talking about the Oprah Winfrey Show.
That's right. That's right.
Millions of people watch this every day. And, I mean, this show affects spending habits. You can watch the stock market fluctuate based on what happens on her show. What I thought was interesting, because you brought up Precious, and I do have an image for the film Precious. Folks, if you did see the film or did not see the film, you can check out, it's not there. Dang. I was going to tell people you could check out Creed's program with Precious, but it's not up anymore. Hope you got it. Hope you downloaded it. And that's, again, lesson. Any of the programs about racism, white supremacy that you think are constructive, download them. That way you'll have them in case, you know, something happens, white people interfere, and the content is no longer available. But since you brought up Precious and Monique, who also won an Oscar for her performance in Precious, when I was doing my research for the program, this is from USA Today on April 19th, 2010. Oscar winner Monique's brother says he molested the actress when they were children, and he wants to apologize to her. Gerald Imes, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. Imes, I think it's Imes. Gerald Imes said Monday on the Oprah Winfrey Show that he was 13 when the molestation occurred, and Monique was 7 or 8. Imes said he decided to appear on Winfrey's show to apologize to Monique and bring back some family unity. Monique has discussed her brother's molestation in previous interviews. She hasn't responded to a request for comment sent to her publicist. Winfrey says Monique didn't want to be a part of the interview, but gave Winfrey her blessing.
Yeah.
Interesting trend. And this thread runs all the way through. Ntozake Shange, I'm going to read a little bit from the play because I know a lot of us, white people have really destroyed our relationship to learning and just set up schools so that we have a horrible experience in their school system and just load learning, reading, going to the library. So I try to counter that by exposing non-white listeners to reading material that I think would be informative or interesting to kind of ignite that. So I do want to read a little bit from the play, and so you kind of have a heads up of why I have such a problem with this play. And I totally agree with Pam that this is just another effort, massive effort, on the part of racist white supremacists to cause conflict and arguing amongst black people, particularly males and females, and to keep the attention off of white people. But Ntozake Shange, the black female who wrote the play that this upcoming film is based on, I don't know if folks know this or not, but Ntozake Shange, according to her biography, had 4 unsuccessful suicide attempts before she wrote this play, which is titled For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. 4 unsuccessful suicide attempts. Did you know that before you saw the play the first time?
I don't think I knew it before, but I think I may have. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm not sure. But I'm saddened to hear it now. You know, that's sad. Very,
very. And again, it's not if, as you said, I don't know. These reports could be incorrect. We are in a system that is based on deception, so these reports could be totally false. This could be fabricated. but also they could all be true. All of these people could have had, horrific experiences and, the suicide attempts and things. Not making light of it, but I do think that's important. Particularly, when you go to see this film, that you have tons of black people saying this play is, so important. And I saw a report online today that said this is one of the most important black films in the last 20 years.
Are you kidding?
Now, if we're going to say that,
wow.
I'm not kidding at all. They're saying this is Oscar material.
Oh, my goodness.
Janet Jackson, Oscar-worthy performance. Tyler Perry, this might be the film that gets him an Oscar.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it's real important. Black people, keep that in mind when you if you read the play, which I would recommend, or if you just go to see the movie. Keep this in mind. This information, the reports about the people who are most responsible for the work that you see on the screen. Tyler Perry, what you heard, he said he attempted to slit his wrist, commit suicide, the sexual molestation, and Ntozake Shange, 4 failed suicide attempts. Just for me, hearing that about these folks, it's not anything I laugh at. It's not anything where, I want to attack them. But it makes me think this play, this movie, is the manifestation of a victim of white supremacy who is suffering from extreme psychosis and is in need of immediate and intensive medical attention from trained mental health professionals, preferably Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. That's what I think when I see some, and it's titled For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. Just pay attention to the titles. Words, words, words. How do I feel when I see this play? And I think the first time you were on the program, that was something we discussed. When you go and you see a film and has black people in it, how does this make me feel about black people? When this is over, do I feel good about black people? Does it make me want to be around black people? Does it make me want to help black people? Does it make me feel sorry for the way that black people are treated in a system of white supremacy? No. Is that the case? Or is something else happening in these films? And, based on Precious and Tyler Perry's work, and I'll read a little bit from the play so you all can gauge for yourself, come to your own conclusions about how this film makes you feel about black people. I don't know. Would you like to add something on that, Penny?
Well, that question that you brought up, how does it make you feel about black people? I can't think of, I would say that most of the movies that are endorsed by the system, by white Hollywood, make you feel pretty lousy. I mean, you walk out of there. The only time I think you can have what I would call an almost positive experience with a black character on the film, on the big screen, is the mammy roles. And what I mean by that is the black man is now the new mammy. It seems like there's only basically two roles for black men on the movies, and that is either a lowlife of some kind, which they generally win awards for. I think someone won an award for playing the pimp in some movie. Denzel Washington won his first Oscar for being a low-life cop. So either they play a low-life or they play a mammy. And basically what it is the black male now is in the form of a hero, saving white humanity, rescuing white people, or assisting in saving white females. And that seems to be the only kind of positive roles now that you see black men in. They have to be in a predominantly white environment where they're close to white people, very, very few to non-black people around. They generally have no relationships with black women, and they generally will put their life on the line to rescue, save, and assist white people. So I would say when I leave the movie, you might feel okay about that when you walk out, but for the most part, I don't even go see movies anymore because I'm trying not to get infected. But I would simply say that most of I would say when the movies that they're putting out and they're giving all these accolades to, The Blind Side, Precious, and I knew Precious was going to win the Oscar. I knew it. I told people, I said, watch, it's going to win an Oscar because it's low down. Lots of low down black people. How can they resist? So I could add so much more. I don't really have it in my mind, but it seems to me to be a formula that they're using in depicting black people, and there's a reason they're doing it.
Wow. Again, our guest, her fourth visit, co-author of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, Pam. And again, the link, it's you can just click the title for the book, TrojanHorse1.com. Also wanted to add one more because this is going to come up. Later on, I want to go through some of the characters, some of the main black actresses in this film, and some of body of work. I said that before, 818, I think she calls that out also pretty regularly. Look at the entire body of work that people have put together. And you were talking about if a black male or a black female is celebrated and gets an Oscar for their work. I wanted to point out another one in addition to Halle Berry and Denzel Washington, Forrest Whitaker, for his role in The Last King of Scotland, where he's basically some, savage Negro tyrant in Uganda, hacking up black people and acting crazy. That one will come up later because Kerry Washington, who is one of the stars of For Colored Girls, was in The Last King of Scotland. She was actually Forrest Whitaker's wife in The Last King of Scotland, one of his wives in The Last King of Scotland. Victim. I wanted to read a little bit and then kind of get your thoughts, because you saw the play, so I wanted to read a little bit and kind of get your thoughts hearing it now as a less confused victim of white supremacy who's, working to end the system immediately. This is from the play. This is written by Ntozake Shange, and if you want to check it out, her name is spelled Ntozake. Shange, her last name Shange. Ntozake Shange. This is page 14. I used to do theater, right? I was in some plays and around a lot of people who had spent a lot of time in theater, and they loved this work, loved it, raved about it, wanted to do it, did monologues from it, would do, pieces from it, just reveled in it, the black females that I was around when I did theater. And they loved one particular character from this work, the Lady in Red. For people, if you're not familiar with the play, the characters, they are named by color. So it'll be the Lady in Red, the Lady in Blue, the Lady in Green. I don't think they stick with that theme in the film. In fact, I know they don't. The characters have names, but some people are trying to read which characters are which, because Janet Jackson, if you look at her poster for the film, she's in red, so they think that's the Lady in Red character. I don't think that's the case, but just so you know, the colors are important for this work. But this is from the character, the Lady in Red. This is from page 13 and page 13 and 14. And these are poems. If you want to read this will be a quick read. It's like 80 pages, maybe not even 80 pages, and it's poetry. The way the play is written, it's a collection of poems, so it'll read really quick, and you'll get an idea. Plus, you'll hear a lot of this if you go see the film. Even if you just watch the trailer, a lot of these lines are in the trailer. But this is the Lady in Red, reading from page 13. Without any assistance or guidance from you, I have loved you assiduously for 8 months, 2 weeks, and a day. I have been stood up 4 times. I've left 7 packages on your doorstep, 40 poems, 2 plants, and 3 handmade note cards. I left town so I could send to you, have been no help to me. On my job, you call at 3 in the morning on weekdays, so I could drive 27.5 miles across the bay before I go to work. Charming. But you are of no assistance. I want you to know this was an experiment to see how selfish I could be. If I would really carry on to snare a possible lover, if I was capable of debasing myself for the love of another, if I could stand when I wanted to be wanted, and I cannot. So with no further assistance and no guidance from you, I am ending this affair. This note is attached to a plant I've been watering since the day I met you. You may water it your damn self. I remember the black females, they would love that line. They would get a real attitude and bang! Like, take that. This is the lady in red. You've seen the play and hearing that. What did you think about that particular passage?
It's funny. I think when I was younger, I would have seen it the way that it was probably meant to be seen, and that was, look at this guy, he's no good, look at all I do. But as a person that has had to take personal responsibility for my own romantic failures, I realized that a lot of times we are in love with the drama. And it's curious that if the person that we're pursuing, I hope this isn't off topic, but the person that we're pursuing, if they supposedly gave us all that we claimed we wanted, a lot of times we would probably leave. So that's the thought that occurred to me, if you were my honest opinion, was, had she gotten what she wanted from him, would she have moved on to another person who was a challenge again? So I would just put it this way, that it takes two to tango. And I do think that as a woman, a lot of times we put ourselves in the victim role, but we often forget, and men do it too, that if the person is not acting right, what's your problem? Why are you still there? So I guess, I don't know. That's my honest first reaction. I was listening to it was, if the guy is doing all this, why are you still hanging out? So is he the only one with the problem, or do you have a problem? And I think that's off topic, but that was my thought.
Not at all. I think that is right on topic. You said you feel like a lot of us, not all, but a lot of us, victims of white supremacy, black people, we enjoy that drama or are addicted to it at some level. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
You know what? I'm so glad that you allowed me to do that, because I did want to say this. I don't know so much if it's loving the drama as it is avoiding true intimacy. I mean, are we hooking up with people? Because we've been victims of white supremacy, we've become paranoid. It's very difficult to let your guard down. It's very difficult to love when you're under attack and assault all the time. So I believe some of our relationships, we've had to put so much armor on and have so much paranoia and not trust because we've been abused, that maybe we hook up with people who can guarantee that they'll never get too close. We avoid the intimacy, and I think that's partly what leads us into these interracial relationships, because as Mr. Fuller says, the best it gets is tacky. And I love when he said that, and I know some people might be offended, but I agree with him. The best it gets is tacky, because if you're with someone, you're a person who's being oppressed in a white supremacy system, and you're with a white person who is benefiting from your oppression, and that white person denies that they're benefiting, and you deny that they're benefiting, how in the world can you think you know each other? If you can't be honest about the biggest thing that affects your life as a black person, and you can't be honest about it, and you can't talk honestly with that person about it, and that person is denying that you're being mistreated, but claim that they love you, how can you claim your relationship is deep? It's shallow and superficial, and I think because black people have so much emotional trauma that we may even seek out relationships that guarantee that we never have to show our true self, and that guarantee that we can be superficial and remain on a shallow basis. And dealing with a man like that, and I've known him, you're guaranteed that you'll never get intimate with him because he won't even show up for a date. So there's no chance of you having to expose who you really are, and there's no chance of him getting too close. And maybe that's what makes the quote-unquote dog so appealing, is you don't have to fix what's wrong with you. You can focus on what's wrong with him. So I think, I don't think we were that way before we had this 500-year experience. But I think now we've got a lot of psychological baggage because of white supremacy.
I guess I hope I don't botch incredibly important and well-said information that you just shared, but my 1 cent that I would add with that, I think because consciously or unconsciously, we are aware that white people tend to put a hurting on black people all the time, and we know I'm being crushed by this system. I don't have the ability to help myself, much less somebody else most of the time. I think a lot of us have that fear of getting close to someone because we don't want to share with that other person how vulnerable and weak we are because of the system of white supremacy. And I don't want to really get that close to somebody that I know white people can annihilate at any time. I think that might be operating at a conscious level or even at an unconscious level. And I think particularly with black males, I know James Baldwin, in Evidence of Things Not Seen, he talked about why a lot of black males leave the house and he attributed it directly to racism, white supremacy, and saying being crushed by this system, metaphorically speaking, being castrated by white people. You're not able to take care of your household. You're not able to be a father. You're not able to be a husband. It becomes unbearable for a lot of black males to come home and look at a whole house full of people who are closer to him than anybody else on the planet that he cannot support in any way, that he has failed as a father and as a husband. That is totally unbearable, and that's why a lot of them leave. And I think that goes directly to what you said, but I could be incorrect. Am I in the ballpark?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a horrible thing that's the basic definition of a man. You know, Neely Fuller says to manage. That's what man means. And I don't know what the etymology of the word is, but, you know, that's the basic function of a man, to provide for and protect his women and children. And when you take that away from a man, you've taken away his ability to be a man. And how is he supposed to feel like a man when he comes into that house and he can't work? I mean, back in James Baldwin's days, black men called purity hell, trying to be providers. They couldn't protect, and they were prevented at every turn. I mean, this was before quote-unquote affirmative action and all this other stuff that supposedly gave us opportunity. I mean, they didn't even pretend to give the black man opportunity. They would degrade him on his job, call him boy.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Call him boy. And, hello?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Oh, I thought I heard something really strange. Okay. And they would not allow him to function as a man, and they would degrade him publicly. So what would a man do who's not allowed to be a man? How can he sit in that household and face his women and children knowing that he cannot function as a man? I can't even imagine what my father went through. And I have to give my father great props because he never left the house. He always provided for. And I know now as I'm older, he must have caught a lot of hell just trying to be on a job. So.
Wow. Context of white supremacy. Gus T Renegade, Pam, co-author of Trojan Horse. I want to give out the number one more time. If you want to call in, because the phone lines are full at Blog Talk Radio, but you can call in. The number is 760-569-7676. Once you dial that number, the code that you need is 564943. Anybody, if you would rather listen on the phone, feel free to call. Unlimited number of people can call there. So dial away, 760-569-7676. 7676, and the code is 564943. Okay, next passage from the book. This is page 59, and a lot of this comes up in the book, but it's not done in a manner that you would connect the dots to, oh, white people are to blame for the crazy behavior of black people. It just ends up, in my opinion, being very easy to focus on black males as being the problem. This is page 59, for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. Okay, got that taken care of. Okay. He came home crazy as hell. He tried to get veterans benefits to go to school, and they kept right on putting him in remedial classes. He couldn't read worth a damn. So Bo cussed the teachers of holding him back and got himself a gypsy cab to drive. But his cab kept breaking down, and the cops was always messing with him. Plus, he was not getting much bread. And Crystal, and this is also the lady in red speaking, the previous female who had the boyfriend that was not doing correct. And Crystal went and got pregnant again. Bo most beat her to death when she told him. She still got a scar under her right tit where he cut her up. Still, Crystal went right on and had the baby. So now Bo Willie had 2 children, a little girl, Naomi Kenya, and a boy, Kwame Bo Willie Brown. And there was no heir. The first paragraph especially, you do see a hint of white people are causing a lot of problems. You have a hint of him having some difficulties in school, which I know a lot of us can relate to directly or indirectly. That he's a veteran, so, going through and participating in the racist white supremacist war machine. This came out during the period where I suspect this would be a Vietnam veteran going to harm other non-white people for racist white supremacists. This black male obviously has some serious problems because of white supremacy. So you see it being hinted at, but I feel like that gets kicked to the curb because of all the drama. A knife fight between this black male and this black female. I think a lot of that gets lost on the conflict, the direct conflict between black males and black females. What are your thoughts on the portion that I just read?
Oh, absolutely. I think that I agree. When I heard that, I thought to myself, well, look at what was happening back in that period when black men tried to get help from the system, when they tried to get what they were owed, when they tried to participate, whether it was in the educational system or the employment system. Look at what happened. And I think because our relationships were already destroyed at that point from 400 years of slavery, the black male and black female have a tendency at that point, even 40 years ago, to blame each other for what white supremacy is doing to them. So the black female is looking at him, and in the place she's not really looking at the bigger picture and saying, well, he's being driven crazy. She's just seeing him right in front of her as a crazy man. He's not looking at her and saying, well, she's a victim also of the same system that's victimizing me. He sees her as a problem. So to me, they're the byproduct of 400 years of having our families and relationships and sanity destroyed. So I would like to I'd like to just read like a sentence that was written back in 1843 by Moses Grandy in his autobiography of Life of a Slave. And he says this basically: no colored man wishes to live at the house where his wife lives, for he has to endure the continual misery of seeing her flogged and abused without daring to say a word in her defense. So when you mentioned earlier about the man not staying in the house, this is something, this constant pressure cooker that black men and black women have been in, now going on 500 years. We should no longer be surprised that we have problems with each other. What, in my opinion, we need to do is we need to put the blame where it belongs. I need to stop blaming other black people. I have to protect myself from other black people who are out of order. But I have to start seeing a bigger picture and put the blame where it belongs. And that's the purpose of our second book, is to do that. That was actually something I read out of the second book. And because, insanity is doing this. I mean, we can't keep blaming each other. You're just going in circles. And I think on some level we know there's a bigger picture, but the bigger picture requires us to take responsibility for fixing it. And it's easier and safer to keep blaming each other. But we better get off of that, because that's not working.
I could not agree more, and we will hopefully, just in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing a whole program. Pam will be coming back so we can talk about the brand new book that they are cranking out. Excited to hear about it, and that'll be another one. Y'all can pick that one up immediately, but that should be coming up early part of November, keeping our fingers crossed. I want to read, because this is like the climax, end quote. This is the climax of the play, and I already saw a chunk of this that I'm about to read in the movie. When I saw the trailer for Colored Girls, I saw what looked like a chunk of this scene. So, in fact, just this scene alone, I would highly encourage black people, do not go see this film. I mean, really, this is war. Let's get on wartime footing about the way we invest our time, energy, and resources. I would not spend a wooden nickel to go see this film. Not a half of a wooden nickel would I spend to go see this film, just based on what I know this film is about and how it's going to portray black people. As a black male, I would not go see this film at all, and I'm hoping people will hear this program and really think about what's going to be coming down, what's going to be coming on the silver screen in a couple of weeks, and be prepared. I would hope that we could be, I want to say, aggressive in combating this and letting people know this is a film that came out from at least one person, perhaps, with Tyler Perry and what he shared on Oprah Winfrey and Ntozake Shange, from a group of people who have been sexually molested and have attempted suicide. These people have mental health issues. That's what this this film is, a manifestation of the psychosis of white supremacy. Bang. And I would begin with, did you know the person who authored this play attempted suicide 4 times unsuccessfully? Anybody who has anything to say about this play, that's exactly where I would start at. Not Oscars, not how hot Janet Jackson is. Did you know the person who wrote this play attempted suicide 4 times unsuccessfully? And then just anything else they have to say, bam, reroute to that. Mm-hmm. But this is the climax from for Colored Girls, who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. How in the hell did he, and this is talking about the same black male, Bo Willie Brown, how in the hell did he get in this mess anyway? Somebody went and told Crystal, his girlfriend, that Bo was spending all of his money on the bartending bitch at the Merry-Go-Round Cafe. Bo sat straight up in the bed, wrapped up in the sheets, looking like John the Baptist, or a huge baby with stubble and nuts. Now he had to get all of that shit out of Crystal's mind so she would let him come home. Crystal had gone and got a court order saying Bo Willie Brown had no access to his children. If he showed his face, he was subject to arrest. Shit. She'd been in his ass to marry her since she was 14 years old. And here, when she was 22, she want to throw him out because he say he'll marry her. She burst out laughing, hollering, what you want to marry me for now? So I can support your ass or come sit with you when they lock your behind up, because they're going to come for you. You goddamn lunatic, they're going to come. And I'm not going to have a thing to do with it. Oh, no, I wouldn't marry your pitiful black ass for nothing. And she went on to bed. I'm skipping a few pages, basically lots of brawls, fights, that sort of thing. Negro madness, as Sister Nefertari terms it. 63, page 63. As soon as Crystal let the baby out of her arms, Bo jumped up, a laughing and a giggling, a hooting and a hollering. All right, bitch. All right, bitch. You gonna marry me? You gonna marry me? I ain't gonna marry you. I ain't ever gonna marry you for nothing. You're gonna be in the jail. You're gonna be under the jail for this. Now give me my kids. You give me my kids back. He kicked the screen out of the window and held the kids off the field. You're gonna marry me. Yeah, I'll marry you, anything, but bring the children back in the house. He looked from where the kids were hanging from the 5th story at all of the people screaming at him, and he started sweating again. Say to all of the neighbors, you're going to marry me. I stood by, Bo in the window, with Naomi reaching for me and Kwame screaming, Mommy, Mommy, from the 5th story. But I could only whisper, and he dropped them. The climax of For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, a black male giving an ultimatum to this black female to marry him or he will throw both of their own children off the balcony of the 5th floor apartment, and he does so. This is the climax of the play, and this is in Tyler Perry's film. I already saw the trailer where I see this scene, so this is what you have to look forward to. This is why I said I would not spend half a wooden nickel to go see this film. What are your thoughts on that, Pam?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I didn't go see Monsters Ball. I didn't see Precious. I didn't see The Blind Side, and I won't be seeing this. It's psychological warfare as far as I'm concerned. You know, the whole point of producing the movie was that last scene. Without that last scene, they wouldn't have done it. It would have just been another waiting to exhale. So the power of the production is that last scene. So I don't think it would even have been made by Hollywood had it not had that last scene. So since I know that that's a declaration of another declaration of war, I want to say to the audience, think about it. The black male watches himself get degraded again in the movie by black females. The black females are angry at the black male for throwing the baby out the window. The black male and female are angry at each other. White female comes along, scoops up the brother. But what we got to understand is that when they put one of us down, they put all of us down. When they put the black man down, they put me down. When they put the black female down, they put the black male down. Why? Because we came from each other. How am I okay and my black father's not okay? How is a black man okay and his black mother's not okay? So with the attitude, in my opinion, that we need to start having is, instead of acting like, glad they talk about black men for a change, or glad they putting sisters down for a change, we need to understand that when they put one of us down, they put all of us down. They don't love any of us. They don't like any of us. They're attacking all of us. They're destroying all of us. And until we get this as a mantra, internalize it. When you put black men down, you put me down. When you put a sister down, you put a brother down. And until we get on that page, these little divide and conquer little tricks are going to keep on working. The tricks are going to keep playing tricks on us. And it's about time for us, after 500 years here, we ought to be catching on in some game.
Man, that should be the new mantra. They put one of us down, they are putting all of us down. I'm just curious, when this first came out, because, I mean, this play has been going for years. They do this play all the time. Did you see, conflict erupting between black males and black females about this play?
I trying to remember, but I do think vaguely it was the kind of conversation that happened after The Color Purple. And I remember arguing with brothers, and I didn't see The Color Purple either, but I argued with brothers, oh, stop it. They just telling how, So I didn't understand. So, yeah, I remember the conversations, the acrimony and the resentment of the way black men were portrayed. I remember black men being resentful about Oprah and how Oprah shows always, Oprah's attitude, toward black men, and how the movies always seem to make the black man look bad. And I suspect that happened after for colored girls too, but I don't really remember if it did. But I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure it's. We just got to really stop being such pushovers. And I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I mean, when somebody, it's just like a person coming along, and you're in a schoolyard, and they keep coming along and making you and your best friend fight, and they keep saying, so-and-so said so-and-so about you. Then they go to the other person, so-and-so said something, and every week you two get together and fight. And instead of you saying, well, wait a minute, every time we fight, it's because the same other kid is always whispering in our ear. At some point you would think, well, the problem is not you and me, the problem is that person whispering in our ear. Just got to get smarter.
Context of white supremacy. I hope this program is aiding black people who are listening and getting smarter about what is popping up on the screen and how to deal with that. And a lot of this, just being more informed about the people that are putting this stuff together and that sort of thing, can give you a lot of ammunition in how to deal with this, so that we don't end up attacking each other. We can point the finger at white people, not even at Tyler Perry or Oprah Winfrey. I have you can say whatever you want about them, but ultimately they would not be able to do any of this if it was not for racist man and racist woman. They are the folks who are most to blame. Get at them. I'm curious because I just read this and I wanted to get your thoughts about this. And I want people to keep in mind that the key word for this program, commiserate. Commiserate. And definition, I'll read it for folks in case they're not at Blog Talk Radio. To express or feel sympathy or pity, to sympathize, commiserate. That's a lot of what I've observed about this film. This is an opportunity for black people to get together and feel bad about, how trifling other black people are, especially black males. And it switches. I've seen other films where it's black males. They'll get together and talk about how bad and gold-digging black females are. Lots of that. I see no value in that at all. It does not focus on resolving the problem of racism, white supremacy. I wanted to. This is on Internet Movie Database. I was trying to find what the budget for this film is because I know when Tyler Perry started out, he was on 60 Minutes and he said he was on the Chitlin circuit. This film is not on the Chitlin circuit. This film looks like it has big time budget behind it. Like white people are real happy about him doing this. Mm-hmm. This is, like I said, Internet Movie Database. For Colored Girls, received an R rating for some disturbing violence, including rape and sexual content and language, in quotes. And there's a lot of rape in the play if you read it. There's a lot of black males raping black females. Perry's first 8 features were all awarded PG-13 ratings. So this appears to be a step in a darker direction, in quotes. Any thoughts about that, Pam?
I wonder if the darker. Of course, he's always in a darker direction, so I guess that wasn't a pun. I agree with you that they're happy. I mean, they're counting their ducats and they're anticipating the box office receipts, and probably white people will see it like they saw Precious, especially if they hear that a black man's going to throw a black baby out the window. That'll bring them in. I'm just disturbed by the whole thing. I agree that this is not really about Tyler Perry or Oprah or anybody, but I think it's important to note their role in it and how these what Neely Fuller calls showcase blacks, how these showcase blacks are used to promote white supremacy, and how they do it with zeal because they're financially rewarded. So I think it's important to hold them accountable, even though they're victims. That's why I don't feel obligated to support Showcase Blacks politically, financially, or any other way, because it's like, we got an enemy outside the house, and you got a cousin who's opening the back door and letting some of them in. Well, your cousin is a problem, even though they're family. So I feel like these Showcase Blacks are like the cousins that open the back door while you're trying to hold the front down. And I think it's important that black people see the role of Showcase Blacks and understand why these people are allowed to achieve success, because, no, they didn't achieve success on their own. Oprah would have never been Oprah had the system not allowed her to, what do you call it when your show is all over? There's a term for it. I slipped out of my mind.
So your showcase is all.
Yeah, when your show is syndicated, I guess syndication or whatever, that allows you to be on multiple stations. She would not have been able, huh?
Yeah, I was agreeing.
Okay. She would not have been allowed to become Oprah had they not seen the value in her being Oprah. Tyler Perry would have never made it into Hollywood, no matter how good he was, if they had not seen fit to allow Tyler Perry. So everything that these Showcase Blacks do is permitted by the system, encouraged, and they're allowed to do it. And so I think it's important to understand that the black people who do achieve these high levels of success in a white supremacy system are always serving white supremacy. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what the facade is. I don't care what face they're wearing. Because logic tells us that if I got a system and I want to maintain that system, I'm going to make everything that happens benefit that system. So why would I allow black people into that system to participate on a high level, or at least on a very financially lucrative level, if they weren't serving my purpose?
Context of white supremacy. I'm going to give the number out one more time because I guess folks are calling in. If you want to call in, the Blog Talk line is full, but you can call in at 760-569-7676. The number again, 760-569-7676. The access code you will need is 564943. That code again, 564943. So 760-569-7676, and access code is 564943. I wanted to, because I harp on body of work, I wanted to pick out some of the films that some of the main actresses in this film for colored girls have been in. I think most folks know about Tyler Perry and Diary of a Mad Black Woman and a lot of his other films, the Medea franchise. But some of the main actresses, you see most of them on the poster if you're listening at Blog Talk Radio scrolling by. I'm going to just read out some of these films, and you can comment if you've seen any of these or if you think that if it has any relevance to what we've discussed here. And I also want to start, some of the folks that are in this, man, are incredibly gorgeous. Kimberly Elise, super, super cute. Kerry Washington, we discussed her before, unfortunately, with Last King of Scotland and Lakeview Terrace. I have to actually do quite a bit of work for that. Last King of Scotland, Lakeview Terrace, and just in general, for Kerry Washington. Sandy Newton, she has a white parent. I would break my cowbell if I had to read all of this, but Sandy Newton, she's the actress that is in the bathtub for the poster for this film. She has a white parent. She was in Crash. She was the black female who was married to Terrence Howard, who got molested by the enforcement official. That's Thandie Newton. She was also in Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise. She was his sexual interest. She was in Norbit with Eddie Murphy, where he was dressed up like a female. And she was in the film W. She played Condoleezza Rice. I guess I'll do each actress, and then I'll check in with you, Pam. Any of that stick out to you as noteworthy? Any of those films that Thandie Newton has also been in? Yeah, and I find it interesting that the roles for black females in movies haven't changed much over the last 40, 70, 80, whatever years. The mulatto female has always played the white man's whore. I'd like to know, in any of these white man's whores movies, do the mulattoes ever marry the white men? I don't really want to see them do that. I'm just saying that the mulatto female, that's a role that she's played in the minstrel shows back in the early 1900s. It's a role that all non-white women play in movies where the white man shows a sexual interest. They play the provocative half-breed. So, to me, the mulatto female is never portrayed as an unattractive female. She's always portrayed as a sexually desirable female, as a toy. Not fully equal to the white female, of course, but as a sexually, something that, I can play with for a minute. If I'm a white man, if I've got a little extra time, a little spare time, I can play with her. And if she's a dark-skinned woman, of course, she won't be the sexual interest, because that's just too much that's too threatening. So I just, it's not a person's fault that they have a white parent. I sympathize with you. Oh, that's a terrible thing to say, but in all seriousness, I just find it interesting that the mulatto female has made almost a resurgence as the only desirable black female. Of course, the ladies that you mentioned, they're all attractive. But it's interesting that only the mulatto seems to play, for the most part, play the love interest of any male, black or white, except in the movies made by black people. Wow. Okay, this is Loretta Devine. These people, most of them have extensive film biographies, so, you can kind of check that for yourself and see other works that they've been in. And I also want, Felicia Rashad is older, but she looked really cute in the shots that I saw. She's a little bit older, but she still is right on Felicia Rashad. Loretta Devine, okay, she was in Waiting to Exhale. She was also in Crash. I thought that was pretty interesting. Loretta Devine is the female, if you're looking at the posters and trying to pick out, she's the one, I think it's like green and white, I'll say. Yeah, I guess green and white, if I had to pick which color I think that is. Are you familiar with which actress I'm talking about? Uh-huh. Let me ask you this. Does it look like Janet Jackson has blue contact lenses in? It looks, yes. Or hazel or something? Yes. What's that all about? Yeah, exactly. And she was in Different Strokes. I didn't even know that. Janet Jackson was in several episodes of Different Strokes. Oh, I didn't know that. Obviously, she was in Good Times. I think people remember Penny, but yeah, she was in Different Strokes. And she's been in several Tyler Perry films. So yeah, that, I thought that was interesting. Whoopi Goldberg, whoa, she was in Ghost. I'm trying to be balanced here. She was also, she played Medgar Evers' wife in Ghost of Mississippi, so I'm trying to balance this a little bit. She was unfortunately in Made in America with Ted Danson. I actually want to take 5 seconds to share a little bit on that one. Do you remember that film, Made in America? It came out in the early 90s. I remember hearing about it, and I didn't see it, but I remember the controversy that happened with her and Ted Danson. Okay. I saw that. I remember going to the movies to see this. Made in America. Whoopi Goldberg, Nia Long, and Will Smith are in this. Whoopi Goldberg is Nia Long's mother. There is no father, of course. She finds out that Nia Long is trying to find out who her dad is. She finds out that her mom went to a sperm bank to get pregnant. They track the person down who donated the sperm, who is her father, and it turns out to be Ted Danson.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And around the same time, Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson were actually in a sexual relationship. And you know about the controversy, correct?
Right.
Okay. You want to share that part with the audience?
Well, if I remember correctly, I don't know exactly where he was, but Ted Danson came out in blackface. I think he was at some event, some televised event, and he came out in blackface. And at the time, he was supposedly dating Whoopi Goldberg, hanging out with her. And and I guess she got flack for it. He got flack for it. They broke up. He married a white woman shortly after that, if I remember correctly. So, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if that's about blackface, but, hey.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think Whoopi Goldberg was defending Ted Danson coming out in blackface. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think she did. And she defended someone recently.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, she defended. So that's what I say, when you look at these showcase blacks, they all fit a certain profile, male and female, particularly if they've had sex with white people. They all fit that certain profile of the black apologist, the black defender, the black female mammy, the black male mammy, whatever. They have to promote white supremacy or they're not going to maintain their careers. Mm-hmm. And if they're sleeping with white people, they may not even be coerced to do it. They may be eager and willing to, their psychology is such that their whole frame of reference is really white people. So they're always going to be in a position of protecting and defending white people. It just comes naturally to them after a while.
Wow. Whoopi Goldberg, and like I said, she has an extensive film resume. I couldn't read all the stuff that she's been in. I'm noticing trends in her body of work. She was in Sister Act 1 and 2. For people who didn't see Sister Act, she is basically a low-life black female criminal, loose woman, so to speak, who's having an affair with a white man who is married and is also a criminal. And they place her in a monastery to hide out so that she can testify against this white guy that she was having sex with because he's a criminal. So she's around all these nuns, and that's the comedy of this, is that you have this loose hooligan negress hanging out with all of these pure, virgin, pious white women. That is the comedy of all this. And, she's sneaking out to go to the bar and to do her depraved behavior. That's Sister Act 1 and 2. Let's see. She was also in Serafina, Keep It Balanced, about so-called apartheid, white supremacy in South Africa. So, Oh, and I forgot the granddaddy of them all, Whoopi Goldberg, her breakout role, The Color Purple, which I'm saying this is exactly The Color Purple all over again, 21st century style. The Color Purple, which Oprah Winfrey was also in, and she was intimately involved with this project as well as Precious. So, just look for the patterns and consistent themes that you see.
Mm-hmm. This is like Color Purple with girlfriends mixed in it. And a little Sex in the City, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, nothing I'm happy about at all. I got Kerry Washington, who is gorgeous. But man, victim, very confused. Lakeview Terrace, and she was also Last King of Scotland. And Kerry, I actually want to stop for a quick one on the film rundown. Kerry Washington, look how hard white people, this is when you have a system, you can use everything to support your goal, Kerry Washington is going to be on the front cover of Essence magazine for November. I don't know if it's in the newsstands yet or not, but you can see it online. She's, like I said, gorgeous, man. But she's on the front cover of this Essence magazine. And this is the theme that they've got it under, right? Like, they don't even mention for color girls. They just have her picture there. And the theme of it is, you can go to essence.com and you can see what it looks like. But the theme of this cover is they're talking about race, right? And so they have Kerry Washington out front. And, okay, got it. Kerry Washington, I'm just reading what it says. The title for the Essence magazine is Race in America. Okay, it's got Kerry Washington looking stunning in a very provocative dress that's showing a lot of cleavage. It says Kerry Washington, and it has her name highlighted, right? Kerry Washington, Al Sharpton, Ben Jealous, Soledad O'Brien on why race still matters. Now, this is Essence magazine. Does anything jump out at you about the people that they picked to speak on why race still matters?
Well, the first thing that thinks out of me is what important thing can any of them have to say? I mean, it's kind of like them putting me on the cover of Business Week. What Pamela Harris? I don't know. I guess I just think that they keep it on a very they pretend to have a conversation, but they keep it on a very superficial level, and they make sure that no real truth comes out. So they handpick people that are wedded to the system, who are dependent financially in a very big way. So they know they're not going to say anything. I have a problem, first of all, with that dialogue on national TV to begin with, because it's always it's never designed to get at the truth, like when they had the CNN specials on Black in America. Oh, my goodness. That was just purity. I mean, they were running serious game. They could care less about Black in America. They used it to overwhelm people, I believe, with the idea that the media is so concerned with Black people. It was right around the time Obama was running or had just won, and so they put that out there. They put the voices out there that are never going to really say anything important and pretend to have a dialogue. And in the meantime, white people are saying, well, I'm sick of hearing about race. How come you never talk about what's going on with white people? So I think they're using Black people, setting us up, quite frankly, to be, I believe even these movies, if you really want to look at the bigger picture, at least as I see it, the whole thing is staged to make Black people, number one, the distraction from what's happening to white America, the economic devastation of the middle class. They're putting out these Black images, putting out these Black shows to make us look like the focal point. And also they're putting out these degrading Black images to make it look like not only are Black people getting all the attention and one of them is president, they're a bunch of lowlifes. So I believe that they're not only promoting white supremacy, they're promoting the worst kind of white supremacy by constantly bringing up race in such a fashion that it's not designed to get at the truth. It's just designed to put that out there and put it out there, and to make Black people the distraction and the scapegoat. And that's what you do when you're devastating the people. You destroy their images. And I believe that, because we allow them to control our images. And I say allow in the sense that we participate and we finance it. And my partial solution has always been stop giving them your money. Stop supporting these movies. Stop supporting these television shows. Stop supporting these so-called rap artists who are really just rape artists. Stop supporting these people. If we stop supporting these movies and TV shows and specials and all of these things that degrade us, who are they going to show it to? They could show it to somebody else, but we wouldn't be internalizing it. So I feel the big problem is that we participate in it, and in our own degradation. But that whole thing of the race dialogue is a joke, because until they bring up white supremacy, they're not talking about anything, in my opinion.
Wow. I want to make sure I don't miss what jumped out at me when I saw the people that they picked. As I said, Kerry Washington, and then Soledad O'Brien, who not only is married to a white person but has a white parent as well. These are the people that they picked to represent for the dialogue on why race still matters. And they quoted Kerry Washington. She says, "I don't want to ignore my blackness. I just want to get to the point where my racial identity is simply a part of what makes me unique." And they go on to say, does it get any more fabulous than Essence's November cover girl, Kerry Washington? The uber-talented, intelligent, and beautiful actress graces the cover of Essence's special, Race in America, themed issue, and talks to the magazine about her 2 upcoming movies, Night Catches Us and For Color Girls, race, her activist work, and what it means to be Kerry Washington in Hollywood. The goal of this month's issue is to create a national dialogue on race that will inform, inspire, and empower African American women. See the rest of the November issue for more on Essence's special report on race in America. I also feel it's real slick. Nobody said racism.
Yeah, they don't talk about racism or white supremacy. I find it interesting too as I'm looking at the image on your website, the images of the ladies, that there doesn't appear to be any young or quote unquote glamorous dark-skinned black women. The dark-skinned black women are all older. The lighter-skinned black women are the younger ones, the ones that are dressed up to be pretty. And I just find that interesting. Again, they keep promoting. They're just promoting white supremacy. It's just endless, and I think it's interesting too with all the pictures of all these really attractive black women. Look at what they really represent. Another movie putting black men down. Now, does that make a connection or a link between attractive black women and black male degradation? Do black men begin to see attractive black women as the enemy? I'm just asking.
Wow. I think Kimberly Elise, she's a little bit darker. I think she's probably her and Loretta Devine. I think they are the 2 darkest of the black females that are in this work, and Whoopi Goldberg. I think Kimberly Elise, she is playing the character whose children get thrown off the 5th floor balcony. I was able to pick that out from the trailers, so I think that would line up too with what you're saying, where the darker females are the most degraded and are the ones that they move furthest away from being the young, sexually attractive females that you would see in this. Yeah, man.
Yeah, the color scheme is always consistent. Darker means low class, uneducated. Even on that show, The Girlfriends, the darker skinned ladies, I can't think of their names, they were uneducated. One was trying to get a college degree. The other one came off a farm in Fresno. The lighter skinned ones, Diana Ross's daughter, and the one that supposedly was biracial, they had multiple degrees. Diana Ross's daughter was a lawyer. The other girl had 15 degrees. And it just showed that color scheme all the time. The darker-skinned females are always the ones that are living the more quote-unquote ghetto life. The lighter-skinned ones are always the most, and lighter to me means light brown up into, paler skin. They're always the educated ones, successful ones, for the most part. For the most part. Unless black people even black people follow the color scheme to some degree, when they make movies, So that's promoting white supremacy right there.
I agree, and they stuck Kimberly Elise pretty good, and I mean white people, racist white supremacists. She was also in Set It Off and she was the one who could not take care of her children and resorted to robbing banks because social services came in and took her child away from her. That was Kimberly Elise and Set It Off, which also had a lot of gayness being promoted in that film as well with Queen Latifah. I guess the last films I think I missed, which is important, Anika Noni Rose, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's also one of the females pictured. She was in Dreamgirls, which I did not see. She was also Trina. She did the voice of Trina in The Princess and the Frog, which quite a few people have talked about the racism, white supremacy in that work, but she did the voice of the princess in that film. Wow, I wanted to, I guess, get this last chunk out and then see if folks had questions. And before I do that, to give you also opportunity if there's anything we missed that you wanted to get out. There were several reports online where black females, Oprah Winfrey being one, and that's why I said she got involved with this film. There were reports of black females who were concerned or upset even that Tyler Perry was doing this work because they said he's a man and how's he going to do this play that was written by a black female about black females? How's he going to be able to do this work justice? And I don't think he should be able to do it. He's known for just dressing up as a female. And they were really, it went from just kind of concerned to upset that he was involved in this work. And as I said, Oprah Winfrey was in this group of people who had this concern. And I thought that was so stunning and evidence of just how crazy the system of white supremacy has driven us, because I don't remember Oprah Winfrey or any other black person being up in arms about Steven Spielberg directing Color Purple, which was written by a black female about the struggles of black females. Mm-hmm. No one got upset. No one said, wait a minute, what is this white guy doing? Telling our story, get out of here. You're white. You don't know what we've been through as black female. Get out. Nobody said that. In fact, Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey went and harpoed it up and did their thing with no gripes at all. I just found that stunning that was the gripe that was raised here. Not that I'm a fan of Tyler Perry, but just that I've never heard black people say, this white person shouldn't be doing this. How can they relate to us? I found that really interesting.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a real good point. And you're right. It shows you how much confusion there is. We don't even know what the problem is a lot of times. We just start going off on each other. I did want to say something else. I was looking at the picture still, and the thing that disturbs me a lot of times is I don't see it so much here, but we have a chapter in the second book about why black female celebrities must wear why. Let's see. The title, it has to do with black women having to conform to white beauty standards, having their hair straightened. You hardly ever see any movies where the black female has natural hair, even in Tyler Perry movies. I saw this one particular scene. I'll just, Tyler Perry's movie, Why Did I Get Married To? The singer, Jill Scott, she was in it. And they had a TV guide show on, I guess, kind of promoting the movie, and it was on for about a half an hour. And Tyler Perry came on with some of the cast, and Jill Scott came out in this beautiful black dress, and she had her hair in a natural. I couldn't remember the last time I saw a black woman in a natural or a black person in a natural on television, and she came out in this beautifully, perfectly round-shaped natural. Then they showed a clip of her in the Tyler Perry film, and she's got this crazy weave on. And I thought to myself, now, why couldn't she wear her hair in that beautiful natural that she was wearing on the TV guide show? Why did she have to wear the weave in that movie? And in a black movie. And so we wrote this one chapter right after that called Why Black Female Celebrities Must Wear Weaves That Look Like Weaves. And that's something I think is important to note, is that that is also a byproduct of the white supremacy system in media is Paul Mooney, comedian Paul Mooney has said this once. He said, if your hair is relaxed, white people are relaxed. If your hair is nappy, they're not happy. So, so he hit it right on the nose, is that I believe personally that quote-unquote our natural hair lends one to think we might be getting our sanity back. You know, the imitation of them, particularly for black women. When you look at black women, what do you see now on television? Blonde hair, blonde weaves. I mean, I've never seen so many unnatural-looking hairstyles and unnatural-looking colors on black women in all my life. And it's almost like they make them do it. You know, it's almost like they force them to look like a poor imitation of a white female, which is the same as promoting white supremacy. It also does something else. It destroys the confidence of black women. We may not believe that, but when you look in the mirror and you don't see an authentic self looking back, something inside of you is saying something, and that means you've got to block it out. So I think just like Malcolm X made a statement once about conking his hair, and you know, back in the days when black men used to conk their hair, and he said, and I'm looking for that statement that Malcolm X said about it, and it's okay, here it is. He said, this was the first really big step towards self-degradation, when I endured all that pain, literally burning my flesh to have it look like a white man's hair. I had joined that multitude of Negro men and women in America who are brainwashed into believing that the black people are inferior and the white people are superior, that they will even violate and mutilate their God-created bodies to try and look pretty by white standards. Look around today in every small town and big city, from tooth-bit catfish and soda pop joints into the integrated lobby of the Waldorf Astoria, and you'll see conks on black men and black women wearing these green and pink and purple and red and platinum blonde wigs. They're all more ridiculous than a slapstick comedy. It makes you wonder if the Negro has completely lost his sense of identity, lost touch with himself. And I think the point of them wanting to see black women in these weaves is they know it makes you lose touch with who you really are. And it affects your self-esteem, and it also promotes this self-degradation to younger females who are out there watching. So it's still promoting white supremacy. Them wearing the weaves is not about black women experimenting with their hair. It's about promoting white supremacy, and that's why I think Jill Scott was not allowed to wear her natural hair in that movie, even if she had wanted to. And I suspect she may have wanted to, because why did she come out in a natural hairdo if that's not how she thought if she didn't think it looked nice? And so I think it does one last thing. I'll make it real quick. Black women wearing these weaves, particularly these crazy weaves on TV and in the media, also creates a level of disrespect from the black male, because he's looking at the black female and he's saying, well, you know, she's just trying to look like an artificial white woman. So it creates kind of a disconnect, I think, between black men and women. And it also perhaps will even lend some black men to think, well, if I'm going to get if I want a white woman that looks white, I might as well get the real thing. So I think that they do it to degrade black women, force them to wear the weaves, and they also do it because it's a psychological attack, it's psychological warfare.
Wow. I know a little bit about Jill Scott. I have listened to a lot of her music. I think Jill Scott is a little bit less confused than most non-white people. In addition to the hair, she recently made a public essay opposing sexual intercourse with white people. So, man, I think she is quite a bit less confused than most non-white people. That would be two bits of evidence that I would submit.
Right.
Wow. Okie doke. I'm going to check the phone line. Before we end, I want you to, if you would be willing to share a little bit about the upcoming books so folks will know what to check out. I'll make sure to save time so you can kind of get us excited and knowing what to look forward to down the road. But I want to make sure I play that clip from Dr. Kamal Cambone that started the program just to really, drive home how I feel about this and what I think it is. Just paying attention to, he's talking about religion and black people just doing the same thing. I'm telling you, this play came out over 30 years ago, and we sat around and did this. And everyone went to see it, and, this is great, and da-da-da-da, to just keep doing the same thing, not looking for a resolution to the problem of why we have so much conflict between black males and black females. It is because of the system of white supremacy. We can commiserate and sit around with our low self-esteem and complain about black males or complain about black females, or we can get serious about what we're going to do to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. And I think a fantastic step in that direction, if they insult one of us, they have insulted us all. Fantastic suggestion from Pam. Check the website, TrojanHorse1.com. The phone number, again, if you want to dial in to listen or talk, is 760-569-7676. The code that you will need is 564-943. One more time, the number, 760-569-7676. And the code, 564-943. Going to the Cambone clip, and when I come back, I will open the phone lines. Context of white supremacy.
When people are oppressed to the extent that we are oppressed, where we are in a death camp, some people really want to die. And I think that seeing our people in mass in churches is just a cry for help and relief to get off of the planet. So that's why I created subtle suicide. See, a lot of our people really want to die. I mean, they really do want to die. You remember this movie with Charles Bronson, Death Wish? They want to die, but they don't have the courage to jump off a bridge or jump in front of a car or even blow their own brains out. They don't have that kind of courage. That takes a lot of heart to do that. So they commit different forms of subtle suicide. And this whole thing about the religion is just another form of subtle suicide. It's like being on a merry-go-round. Generation after generation, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, passing this toxicity on. So if they want to do it, I don't know, man. I'm at the point where, be my guest. But if you see it hasn't worked, it's just like a drug addict. If I see somebody get strung out on heroin, I see them on the corner nodding and drooling from the mouth, I'm going to say, hey, that's an example. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that because I see that doesn't work. So if the people are doing this, I look at it, as I say, both ways. The people are in there because they have this death wish. They're looking for relief. And it's also, in my estimation, an expression of low self-esteem. They're in there looking for something external. And it's not happening. It has 300-400 years. Why? What makes us think it's going to happen now? So they're just wasting their time, man. And I think that they could use their time wiser if they had a mission of focusing on the solution to the problem.
Solution to the problem. Solution to the problem. And I also did want to throw in Tater Pie. She said that she felt it was very important. Kerry Washington apparently has had some eating disorder issues. I don't know if it was anorexia specifically, but some eating disorders, and she thinks that too is evidence of the psychological trauma that a lot of black people, and especially black females, go through around that European racist standard of beauty. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's, what specifically, but she thought that was important to make sure I got out. So there you go. Anorexia, that's what she said, anorexia issues. So you can check on that as well. The folks who called in, I'm not going to go down the line because I'm not hanging out long because we have 2 shows tomorrow. So I'm just going to open up the lines as long as people can keep the noise down and be orderly. If you have comments or what have you, if you want to talk, everybody that called in, your line is open. Everybody. If you called in, either one, your line is open.
Okay, this is Philadelphia calling again, and thank you for having this show. I just wanted to say that I think that, once women start taking the weave off and stop altering their natural hair and stop subscribing to the European ideology, we'd be much better. Now, I'm wondering, Janet Jackson and Whoopi Goldberg, I don't think they could possibly be so pretty, and I'm just getting sick and tired of ugliness being projected and dressed up as if they were beauty. It's just outrageous. I won't be going to see the film. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Hello. Thanks for having the show once again, Gus, and to Pam, the guest. This is Atlanta calling in.
Hi, Amanda.
Yes. I was going down the list when you were calling out the people who are in this movie, and you were speaking of Sandy Newton, the biracial who was playing in this movie. And you did mention you remember she also played in Beloved, another Oprah movie.
Yeah.
She was also in Crash.
Yes, she was in Crash as well as in Mission Impossible, and of course in Beloved, where she was involved with Danny Glover in a sexual relationship. And she's also married to a white man because her mother is a Zimbabwean, and her mother was involved with a white man, and now her daughter is also involved with a white man, somewhat along the same lines as Sade, who are these children who were raised by white parents, and they also always end up going into a white relationship, and Soledad O'Brien and all of, the whole crew out there, who they always like, as you said, they like to put them on these covers to put them as the ideal beauty. And we are not going to forget with Janet Jackson, both of her husbands that she was involved with. One of them, the last guy, wasn't Hispanic, and her first husband, he was a mulatto, one of the DeBarge brothers. So she seems to have issues, as they say, along the lines with herself and dealing with black men. She's been hanging around with Tyler Perry and what's his name, the other little short guy, Dupree. I don't think that's going to work out for very long. She's going to end up going back into one of those other dysfunctional relationships that she always ends up in.
They already broke up. She's with an Arab man or something of that sort right now.
Oh, she is? Oh, I did not know that. I thought she was still with Dupree.
No, they broke up shortly around the time of Michael's death or shortly thereafter.
And you were speaking along the line with Whoopi Goldberg. Any black woman who would change her name to a Jewish-sounding name,
right,
marry white men, and her daughter is also married to a white man. You can already tell that she has issues with herself. She might be wearing her hair in a natural and trying to be black, but on the inside she wants to be white, because why would you name yourself Goldberg?
She claimed it was so I guess she could get booked easier for comedy clubs or something like that. But I also noticed she is a defender. I heard someone mention that she defended Mel Brooks. I was shocked with my mouth open and disgusted when she was on The View defending Roman Polanski, who drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl. You can find the clip on YouTube. It was disgusting.
I remember that. You see, she's a defender of white men. She did it with, as you said, with Ted Danson, a Jew. Polanski is also a Jew. And she also did it with Mel Gibson. She loves to defend white men.
Yeah, I had forgotten about the Roman Polanski, but you're absolutely right.
Yep. Yeah. She and the rest of Jewish Hollywood defended him, which is just unbelievable to me. She, they said it, and I believe she knew how old the girl was, but her defense was trying to find like some technicality. And it's like, no matter how it happened, he was a grown man, and it was a 13-year-old girl. He had sex with this girl. Whether he had drugged her or not, a 13-year-old cannot consent to that.
Right.
What she was trying to say is that the woman is older now and she forgives Polanski, so therefore we should let it go. You know, what we have to realize, Jews don't forget nothing. They go and they hunt down people who are on their deathbed and take them back to put them on trial. So why should Polanski be any exception for what he did?
Right.
They are very vengeful people.
Oh, they have a whole holiday around revenge for their enemies, and it's called Purim, and it's based on what's in the book of Esther, which I don't think is actually a Hebrew book. I don't think it's a book of the Israelite people. I think it's a holy Jewish, like completely a Jewish book.
Yeah, it's part of a Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, because in the book of Esther, if you read the whole book, there's no mention of God in that whole book. It's all about revenge against your enemy.
Right, the genocide of a people, and nobody ever bothers to pray. Yeah.
Well, you know, you look at the mentality of the people, and they just have that certain mentality where they're so brainwashed and they're so beholden to promoting white supremacy that they just do it automatically. And not just white supremacy, but Jewish supremacy.
Which is why you were speaking of Kerry Washington. You were saying she was raised by white parents. Did someone mention that? I thought I heard that earlier.
I
didn't say that. I know she's sexually involved with a white person. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because as you did say, because in The Last King of Scotland, she got pregnant by this white man, and that's why her husband ended up cutting her up in pieces, allegedly, and sewing the bodies together, according to the movie version, and of course Lakeview Terrace, when Samuel Jackson terrorized them because he did not like the interracial hookup with her and this man. So she's getting like somewhat like, what is it Eva Mendes that always end up in these movies where she's in a bad sexual situation with these white men?
Pretty regularly. That was the movie about that was set in New Orleans. I don't remember the name of the bad cop with Nicolas Cage. She's a prostitute and she's his love interest, and it's about basically white supremacy. Cage just goes through and abuses tons of black males throughout the film, and he ends up getting redeemed by the end of the film, and Eva Mendes also gets redeemed. She's no longer a drug-using prostitute. She's a good cop's wife. That's how it is. But, yeah, similar pattern.
Wow. And whoever's breathing in the phone, mute their line.
Thank you.
Well, since you heard me breathing, I'm assuming you can hear me, correct?
Yeah, you're live. Wonderful.
Okay, I apologize for that. I wanted to just make a statement that, look at the title of this movie. For colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow will do. That stood out to me because what is the gay and lesbian symbol? The rainbow.
Rainbow.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
What message does it send? It says, hey, the movie says your man doesn't. All he wants you is as a physical tool. He doesn't want your children. And hey, don't. Well, you consider suicide, but hey, the rainbow is here, and the rainbow will do. Come to the other side. Because all it's doing is. I was thinking earlier when you guys were talking. And I was saying this movie, I was saying to myself anyway, this movie is simply another nail in the coffin of black male-female relationship. And I think we're going to see many more series of these in the next several years because the pace is stepping up. And I also add that, Frederick Douglass said something, I'll never forget in his book, My Bondage, My Freedom, is that human nature is so constituted that it can pity a man, but even this it can only do for a period of time as signs of strength do not arise. And I think that even though we are worthy of pity, as Mr. Neely Fuller says, we're not getting any pity anymore. You know what I mean? Because we're not showing any signs of strength, and that our pity has run out, and it's time for us to stand up. I will not go see this movie either. However, I may get a bootleg copy. I encourage if anybody's going to see it to support your local bootlegger. only for movies such as this. And it's a great show, and thanks again for you guys' comments. I'm going to mute my phone since I'm breathing so hard.
That was a great point you made about the rainbow. I didn't even make that connection. That is that's deep.
Yes, it is.
Outstanding.
Symbolism.
I was thinking of Irritated Genie when he said that lesbianism is the physical manifestation of the feminist ideology, and I was thinking, bing, you're looking at it again right here. I almost got the photograph of all of the females together, and I was like, wow, this is us coming together. No black males, just a big group of black females, and everybody's happy and complaining about black males. This looks really gay.
And they're all on each other.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, the white folks will be packing the movie theaters as usual just to see another dysfunctional black movie.
That's right.
Where we bash each other, as they did with Precious, The Blind Side, and all of the other dysfunctionals, just for them to get off. Like I was telling one of my bloggers, I said, if Tyler Perry does not have the cross-dressing grandmother with the gun talking trash, and all of these men who have issues, because in all of his movies, the men have issues, and the women also have issues, but more so it's always on the men's side. They don't have a job. There's something wrong with them, with them. And this is what encourages these white people, because it feeds on them, because they feel that we, as a people, we are dysfunctional. So they go and they crowd to these movies, and it comes back, and they feel good. Just like I thought all along, these people, they can't do any better.
Yeah. Yeah, they're setting the stage for something else, and that is matter of fact, there's an article, and if anybody emails me, I'll send it to them, where and I believe it's still up, and they talk about, well, we've basically tried to educate them and stuff, and we'll have to have some high-tech reservations, like the Indian reservations. So they're really setting the stage with all of these negative imagery. You're right about white people. It makes them feel better. It makes them feel superior. And that's why, you can almost say that white America loves black dysfunction. They find it very entertaining and very reassuring because, for one thing, it reassures their safety, that we will never overcome this system because we're too dysfunctional. And two, it makes them, with all of their issues, feel a little better about being white. But it also sets the stage for the master planners in terms of their solutions, of what they will do with black people in the future. They're setting the stage right now with all this negativity and all this negative images, and with black men and women allowing ourselves to be divided. It's the same thing that happens in a herd of animals. If you want to take the herd down, you scatter the herd. And we're allowing them as a herd. We're allowing the predators to surround us and scatter us and run us off in different directions.
Hey, speaking of predators, Pam, did you hear the show yesterday?
You mean the suspected white female supremacists? Yes. Oh, that was an interesting show.
It was so interesting that because she was so contradictory in everything that she was stating, that she likes to date white men, but she don't like black men, but she don't like black men who specifically like to date white women.
No, she doesn't date white men.
No, that's what I corrected myself. I said she likes to date the black men, but she don't like a black man who specifically likes to date white women. So I'm just saying this makes she's confusing. You can't have it both ways.
Right. That was a contradictory. I think she was like, she admitted. And after a while, when you admit things so long, it's aware that you're kind of being deceptive. And I think part of it was her knowing that she's getting something out of these black men who cater to white women, but not wanting to admit that she's with them because she is special when she's with them. In other words, she just gets her validation as a female from black men.
And women, because she said she always hangs around black females. And as it's normally said, we as black women, we have to blame ourselves because we bring these women, we have them as friends, we take them to clubs, bring them to our homes, and then they become involved in our men. White women don't take you to where they live or to their clubs or their association for you to hang out with them. They always end up coming to where you are.
That's right. That's right. They don't introduce you to their brothers and uncles and nephews and sons. Not that you want to, but they make, you know, it's oh God, there's so much to say. You should have a show about white-female sexual aggression. I could do 4 hours on my head on that one.
Don't forget the situation with Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas' wife calling her to tell her that she needs to apologize for what she said about her husband. Now, how idiotic can you be to call this professor of law's office on the weekend, speak to her voicemail, and leave a message there to tell her that she needs to apologize 19 years later for what she said, for the truth that she said about her husband? She's still insecure about her relationship with this black man.
But get this, here's the clincher on that, because I didn't realize he was married to a white female. But they played the story a couple of times this morning on the news. Clarence Thomas's suspected racist wife is the founder of a right-wing political group. It's called Liberty Central. Their goal is to unseat the first non-white U.S. president, Barack Obama. And she has people donating to her organization, and I guess maybe she's been catching some heat about it, so they were saying this could be a distraction from that. But to me, it's just 19 years later, racist woman can't let go of the possibility that her black husband was making sexual advances toward a black female, and she's trying to do Barack Obama, and this Negro is still with her, and he's a Supreme Court injustice.
You know, or she could be very shrewdly promoting white supremacy. And think about the imagery of the white female protecting the black male. I mean, you know, it's hard to say what her real motivation is, but it could very well be, like you said, a distraction. But it could also be that imagery that they keep promoting. The white female is the ally of the black male. The black female is the enemy of the black male. So when you look at that whole scenario, the white female is protecting the black male from protecting the black male from the black female. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's hard to say because they run so much mind game on us. It's hard to say really whether that game is just, you know, that's the main game.
I knew exactly what she was doing because I could not see my husband being on any bench, and I'm going around doing political things that could affect his career. So she has no respect for him, and it shows by her attitude that she would do these things. She was here in Atlanta at a Tea Party rally. She was the headliner around Tax Day for a Tea Party rally. So she's been consistently doing these things, and it shows she has no regard for her husband, and he cannot control her, which we already know black men can't control white women anyway.
That's true. And if you were his wife, would you respect him? Would you respect a bootlicker who disrespects and works against his own people? And that's the thing that I think black people...
hatred of himself, because this is his second white wife that he's married to. The first one was also white.
Right. And, you know, one thing I wonder if black people who are doing the dirty work and working against black people, do they really not think their white spouses know what kind of black person they are? And do they really think anybody respects a person who doesn't like their own kind? Well, so if I was his white wife, I wouldn't respect him if he didn't like his own kind.
True. I think most of those people are in denial. They see themselves as some kind of wonderful, evolved black person who doesn't see color and who has moved beyond that. You know, like the stuff that Franz Cabral kept talking about. If we get past identifying ourselves as black, you know, we won't be treated as black. Like the kids at the playground with their hands over their eyes and they peeking through thinking, because I can't see you, you can't see me. I think a lot of them mentally are deranged in that way.
Yeah, but, they're deranged. Yeah.
I actually did catch the Tyler Perry interview on Oprah Winfrey, and there were a few things I found interesting. One of my conclusion, I think Tyler Perry has a problem with black males because of the abuse that he suffered from them.
His father.
His father was horribly abusive, and he was basically a terror and a nightmare to him. And he said even to this day, he still takes care of his father because he believes in honoring your mother and father. He's forgiven him, but he said he'll never have a relationship with them. But he bought him a house. He paid his bills. He said that's the easy part. But he sent him an email and talked to him on the phone about all that had gone on to find out why. And his father basically unrepentant, told him, if I had beat you one more time, you probably would have been Barack Obama. So his father is totally unrepentant about it, but from the neighbor across the street who put his hands in his pants as a 5-year-old, to the preacher who performed oral sex on him, to the male nurse who abused him, I can understand why he would always see other black males, or that image in general, as monsters. And he said that he saw his mother get abused, and she was never strong enough to protect herself or him. That's when his aunt, who was like the Madea figure, literally carrying the gun to threaten his father, that's where she came in, and she was the protector figure. But he said he looked back over his body of work, and he noticed a common theme, and he said he feels like his movies have been a call to her mother to let her know that you don't have to take this pain. So I think from what he experienced at the hands of black men and what he saw his mother experience at the hand of his father and what he experienced as well manifests in his work in all of these black women going through extreme pain at the hands of black men all the time.
You know what I find interesting? I understand what you're saying, but you know what I find interesting is that even black people's psychosis is tinged with white supremacy. Think about it. Say we could flip the script, and instead of Tyler Perry being a black male, he was a white male. Would he then make movies about how terrible white men are? No. Are we to assume that white people do not experience? Matter of fact, if I had to bet money, I would bet that there's more sexual abuse in white homes than black homes.
Of course they are.
Right. So, but do white people, are they allowed to make movies in Hollywood that totally stereotype and degrade white males or white females? No. So I think black people, even in our midst of our madness, we still see each other through racist eyes. So because, it's just like a black person says, well, I've been disappointed in love 15 times, so black men are no good, so I'm going to go get a white man. Now, a white woman I'm just saying, black people, we have a tendency to view each other through the same white eyes. In other words, if we experience something bad at the hands of a black person, we see black people the same way white people see black people who have experienced one or two bad things at the hands of a black person. So even our psychosis isn't free of our brainwashing.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I thought that was a very good point as far as the psychosis. I think somebody might ask, how do these mentally ill people that need professional help, like Gus said, how do they rise to such high echelons to, where you have Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and the like? It seems like I just wanted to talk about the motivation. It seems like once they get psychotic or whatever happens to them, they seem very motivated. They go and they become millionaires, and that motivation, and they denigrate black people. I mean, they have an agenda. It's like, people talk about black people not being motivated, even getting out and doing something. It seems like if you crazy, you pretty motivated.
I don't see it that way. I see it as,
if you're, I'm sorry, excuse me. I was just going to say, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I see the pain being I guess you could say, usually when you go through pain and you're abused, you get to the point where you got to work it out somehow. Now, he started with his plays, but the thing to realize about Hollywood, if you've been victimized, there are plenty of vultures that will swoop in, and especially if you're black, and take your story of tragedy and be willing to make it something big, especially if it's about black suffering. And Hollywood is an industry fraught with sexual predators. You have directors in Hollywood who make blockbuster action films, been arrested in the back seats of a car, having sex with 12-year-olds. It is fraught with that kind of degeneracy. So those are the people who make it happen for these kind of people.
Yeah, and it is quite true, because there's a video online. You can probably pull it up. It shows you the founders of Hollywood, who are all Eastern European Jews, and the poverty and the background that they came from. So these people came over here and built this fantasy that they wanted for themselves, and they have been projecting it onto us, and we have been striving to try to attain this fantasy that they created in Hollywood.
You know, has anybody noticed, though, even among the white stars and the black stars, that claiming that your sexual abuse has become the new ticket to greater stardom or greater publicity? Is anybody suspicious of any of these stories? And I'm not trying to say they're not true, but I did read some of that Kitty Kelly book about Oprah, and in that book she had pictures of Oprah's relatives and statements from Oprah's relatives, and I hope I'm not saying anything unjust, that said that Oprah made up a lot of stories.
Well,
what I'm saying is it's just become a pattern.
Remember, when Oprah got started, she was competing with Phil Donahue in Chicago, and they were doing the same Maury Povich, who's the baby daddy, and all of this type of nonsense she was doing over there. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, her handlers that came in and took over her and polished her off and put her into the position that she's in right now. So she needs to be like a Tim Wise, and we need to put her out of business also whenever she can, this show that she's on, or whatever network that she goes to. We need to boycott her and anything that she puts her hands into.
I mean, what are we supposed to say when somebody comes on TV and tells that they've been sexually abused? What is that supposed to? What is that supposed to get us to? How is that supposed to make us feel viscerally? How are we supposed to respond to that? Because if it is some type of which I think it is, I don't believe a lot of these stories. It's done for a reason, to make us feel a certain way. So what is that way that we're supposed to be feeling after hearing that?
I'm not as comfortable with that as...
Oprah is not a therapist. She has no therapist on her show. This is a woman who has never been married, never had children, but yet she's always on stage giving stage advice to people who are married and have children and have relationships, and she never had any. So how can you be taking advice from someone like an Oprah Winfrey? It's all about her ratings.
Can I address the issue of the sexual molestation, though? I don't necessarily doubt it when I hear people talk about it, because I know too many people who have been sexually victimized, and I know it does happen a lot in the black community as well as in other communities. So having been victimized, having seen a lot of people in my family victimized, I'm not as cynical. I don't look at it that way when I hear people tell their stories, because I know it is a very common occurrence, especially in this degenerate society. And I want to say to you, Pam, when you said white people have more sexual abuse as far as with their children, if you go to the FBI.gov website and look at the crime rate statistics for arrests for the past 3 years, you will find that white people lead in arrest for violence and sexual misconduct and violence toward children in the family. Okay. In most areas of crime, they rate up about to the 60 to 70-some percentile of the arrest.
And, you know, I do want to add this. I will look that up. I do want to add this. I am in no way denying that sexual abuse takes place or that it's common in the black community. I'm just saying it seems like there's been this rash of people who have used these stories to promote their career. And I'm not saying Tyler Perry is one of them. I'm just saying I believe it is. It's almost like it's become the new status symbol. And I don't say that as to demean the victims of that injustice. I'm simply saying that when you deal with that Hollywood thing, how much is real and how much is not, it's just a toss-up, because these people are promoting their selves and their falseness 24/7. And if some truth comes out of any of their mouths, it's probably a miracle.
Well, you know, Hollywood also loves the story of the under.
5 minutes. Just want to let everybody know 5 minutes.
If you grew up, if you grew up in the 60s and 70s, this is just simply exploitation. Okay, that's what Hollywood is doing. I think every last one of us, if you're a black person, you suffered growing up in this country, some type of ill, some type of abuse, be it verbally, physical, sexual, whatever. And all they're doing is opening up old wounds, because you understand that most of the people that go see, if you go see these movies, you're going to find something that you can relate to. That doesn't make it something that I should support. But all it does is continue this mentality of apathy, you know, of yeah, that's right, you know, I did go through that. And most of the time the women can identify that the black man did this. But when you don't historically know how all this come into our community, I mean, if you listen to the show for any length of time, then you can answer that question. So because we don't know why we have this dysfunction, then we tend to support these type of movies as a form of therapy. I was once talking to a young lady, not a young lady, actually a 40-something-year-old lady, who was talking about her marriage, and she threw out Tyler Perry's 80-20 theory, or whatever that is that he says. And I couldn't believe, I was so blown away by it. I'm like, I can't believe you just used a theory that came out of a movie and applied it to your situation.
Yeah.
So they're just playing on the emotions, the ignorance of people. Mm-hmm. You take that ignorance and you take that emotion, and hey, you got money.
Yeah, that's a good point. They actually are profiting and exploiting what should be a serious dialogue, and that's why I don't take what I see on the Oprah show necessarily all that seriously. It doesn't mean it's not true. It's just that I know I'm being manipulated, and I know I'm being something is being told. I'm trying to be influenced. I'm not being given information. I'm being influenced, and I do think it's kind of suspect that it comes out a week or so before the movie comes out. That he wants to come on the show and talk about it. Sounds kind of promotional. I'm sorry.
Consider what else has been promoted heavily in Hollywood for the last 2 years alongside with the sexual abuse, though, and it's the promotion of homosexuals and that lifestyle. Most people that are homosexual have been sexually abused. I found that to be true even talking to people that I could tell. And I asked, have you been sexually molested? What was your relationship with your father like?
It may be a preemptive strike on Tyler Perry's part to come out of the closet. Now that I've set the groundwork,
I was wondering myself.
Now that I've set the groundwork, and now that I'm forcing you to see me as a sympathetic character, and what they've been doing is you're absolutely right about promoting homosexuality. They've been promoting, these stories where these kids have been bullied because they're gay. And Gus's guest that was on, I think, last week talked about how, we're hurting people, because we're talking about gay homosexuality being wrong. And so when you look at it, perhaps Tyler Perry is part of this promotion, and maybe they said, come on there and tell your story, and then you can come out. I'm saying we don't know how devious and devilish and shrewd and manipulative these people are. We should not underestimate them. And this whole thing of them trying to make you feel guilty because you don't believe in homosexuality, you're causing people to commit suicide. So Tyler Perry may very well be used to promote homosexuality. And in my opinion, I'll say this real quickly, so I don't want to take up too much time. To me, homosexuality is scarier than racism, white supremacy. And it's more dangerous because homosexuality destroys the one thing that God designed to keep man and woman together. Sex is the glue between the male and the female. If males bond with males and females bond with females and males stop bonding with females, there is nothing. Society totally collapses. And if they can get black men and black women to embrace this homosexuality, that is the final nail in the coffin, in my opinion. And I'm not embracing it, and I don't give a damn how many sad sob stories they tell me about why it happens or who it is. I'm not embracing it. If you can't have kids from having sex, the sex is incorrect.
Phenomenal point to conclude on. Pam, could you kind of give us a teaser about the new book? And she'll be back next month. Right now it's the 10th, but it might change depending on when the book is going to be released. But sometime next month, she should be back to give the full lowdown on the new book, to kind of give us a teaser so that we'll be on the lookout for the brand new project.
Okay. I'll make it real quick. The second book is about black male, black female relationships, and the biggest problem that we think, basically the source of black male, black female dysfunction. And we take it back to slavery because that's where it started. It didn't start, you can't do it by getting shiny, like Steve Harvey suggests. You can't do it by bubble baths and romance. So what we try to do is we're trying to take the gender war, we call it the gender war between the black male and female, and take it back where it started. And it started with slavery, and it was fueled by white supremacy. And we take it from the beginning on up to today, the things that we see that have caused the dysfunction. And we talk a lot about interracial sex because, in our opinion, the biggest source of conflict today between black males and females is not child support, it's not divorce, it's not marriage, it's interracial relationships. That is the one single big source of conflict and friction and resentment between black males and black females, which is why the media promotes it as heavy as they do. So that's what we're basically doing, is trying to create work where we promote empathy between the black male and black female. Instead of us blaming each other, we're trying to outline the reasons that we should turn away from blaming each other and look at the source of our problems, and that's racism, white supremacy. And we also make some recommendations. For example, we use what you say, Gus, about becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. We also promote black people must maintain a psychological distance from white people. The same way you do in a war, you train the soldiers to maintain a psychological distance when they're at war. We have to adopt that kind of attitude. So basically, we're just trying to analyze and expose the causes of the black male, black female conflict, and to promote some of the solutions to solving it.
Same folks who brought you Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, brand new project. I think she just got the cover art and everything. So and you can tell them the chapter on interracial relationships, you all nailed it, correct?
Did I mail it?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry. You said, did I mail it?
I said the chapter on interracial relationships, you all nailed it, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we humbly feel that after you read our chapter, and it's a long, we take the covers off the soiled bed of intercourse between blacks and whites, and we try to expose it and analyze it from every possible human direction that we could come up with. And I humbly feel that once you read that chapter, you will never see interracial sex or interracial relationships or sexual intercourse between blacks and whites the same way again. We also we analyzed the Omar Thornton, the young man from Connecticut who shot 8 white people, and we analyzed that under the system of white supremacy. And when you see pretty much what brought that about, it's easy to understand how it happened. And the black female caller on the Dr. Laura show. So when you look at it, the whole thing of interracial sex, how it's been used historically to defeat and destroy non-white nations. Once you see pretty much that sexual intercourse or sex has been a weapon used by whites against non-whites, you can't help but see that how it's being used against us today.
Real excited about the new project. I told you, November, she should be back, and we will go in detail about the psychological distance and that crackerjack chapter on interracial sex. Hopefully, never be the same. Hopefully, that will translate into hundreds of non-white people, thousands, tens of thousands of non-white people, actually millions of non-white people saying never again, no sex with white people under any circumstances. Cannot wait. Information, TrojanHorse1.com. If you're listening at Blog Talk Radio, you can just click the title for the book, and it'll take you right to the website. So you should get the first book, Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, and the new book. You'll hear all about it in a few weeks, actually. She'll be back, and we'll have constructive information. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a minute?
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. I just wanted to read this, and this is It's really quickly, and I want the listeners, I hope, to think about this. What if tomorrow whites had no power over blacks? What if we lived in a world where blacks generated our own power, pumped our own water, grew our own food, built and ran our own schools, manufactured our own products, policed our own communities, controlled our own elections, and owned and managed and controlled our own corporations, land, resources, cities, towns, state, and nation? What would happen if black people didn't need anything from white people because we could supply whatever we needed ourselves? Would any black person look in the mirror and think, I'm ugly because black is ugly? Would any black person put a white person on a sexual or romantic pedestal? Would black males see white females as status symbols? Would black females respect the white man more than the black man?
Pam, are you still there?
Yeah. So that's something I want to think about. Hello?
You're still showing up on the switchboard. Did you hit your mute button by accident, maybe?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that just briefly, just some food for thought. And, for those people who are thinking of interracial as a asset, if whites did not control and dominate your life, would you consider interracial sex an asset? Would it be so appealing if they did not dominate you?
Wow. Excellent thought to ponder on. Keep that in mind. She'll be back, so, hopefully when she comes on the program next month, folks can call in and share their thoughts on that. And, man, I think you hit the nail on the head. As I said, always real privilege to have you on the program to share constructive information. Anytime we can have you, feel free, drop through, call in. Folks are always delighted to hear from you, and always have popular programs when you're a guest on the program. So I think a lot of people have a tremendous amount of respect for the book and for your views. I know even the overweight white female who was with us yesterday, suspected racist, said, hey, this is incredible. She said she gave it to all of her victim of racism sex partners and friends or whoever. So high praise even from the suspected racist team. We will be back tomorrow. While I'm ending a little early, we will be back tomorrow. We have 2 programs tomorrow and 1 on Friday. Should be 3 programs in 24 hours. The next program, Dr. Mwalimu K. Baruti makes his 5th visit to the context of white supremacy. We will be revisiting the sex imperative. Khadijah, she allowed me to get the book. I've read it. It's outstanding, and I think it is very necessary to go back over that material in light of what happened with Bishop Eddie Long, Shane Lee and his visit to the program, even our conversation today, and the homosexual conduct. The image, just so people know, the image that's up for that program is the artwork for Kanye West's new album. He is a black male, so-called hip-hop artist, and this is something that he drew himself, apparently, where it's an image of a black male who has kind of a beastly face with a bottle of liquor in one hand and some sort of, I don't know what this is, something with wings, an animal tail, and breasts. It looks like a white woman with animal parts, and they're having sexual intercourse on a couch. You can see it's on the front page now, but you can see it. He put this on the cover for his new album. Apparently, some white people. Yeah.
And this is on an album cover?
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
This is hideous.
The front cover of the album. Yes. Kanye West.
Oh my God.
This just came out like yesterday or earlier this week. This came out, and apparently white people were upset about this. And they talked about banning the album in certain stores, like Walmart was saying that they weren't going to carry it, and Kanye West was upset and saying, they were trampling on his rights of freedom of expression and all that. But, yeah, there you go, right there. That is more psychoses. And this is the gentleman. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just can't stop making noises. God. Wow, this is really sick.
This is the gentleman, for people, if you don't recall, Kanye West was the gentleman who got on stage at the award show when the little white woman, Taylor Swift, when she was supposed to get the award, and he interrupted her and said, no disrespect, but I think Beyonce should have won, and all the white people got upset and booed and all that. That's the same guy who drew this, same person. So Kanye West, I just thought that image would be appropriate for our discussion with Dr. Baruti on the sex imperative. But that will be tomorrow, Thursday, October 21st, same showtime, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Dr. Baruti, his fifth trip to the context of white supremacy. The second program tomorrow will be at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Pacific. It will be with Dr. Curtis Duncan. He is preparing to do a lecture on the chemical effeminization and castration of males. He talks about a lot of the food additives and chemicals that we consume every day. They reduce testosterone levels in males. He's talking about there are an increased number of males with lower and lower sperm counts. Even chemicals that he's researched where he's found that certain chemicals make females more attracted to effeminized males, less masculine males. Very relevant to our discussion today, probably the discussion tomorrow as well, but he'll be on tomorrow, also Thursday, October 21st. Showtime again is 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. That program will be simulcast here and at waronthehorizon.com, so you can listen either or. And Friday, fifth visit from the irritated genie of Southeast, we'll be discussing Robert F. Williams' Negroes with Guns. Very much looking forward to the next three. It should be a great week here at the Cows. Keep that number because it'll work all week for the programs. If the show line fills up, which I suspect it will, the number to dial 760-569-7676, and the code that you need is 564943. So if the phone line fills up, you can call that number and get on to listen or talk. That's about it. I guess the last thing I'll say also, this is down the line. This is a week and a half. On October 30th, all of the people who have programs on War on the Horizon will be getting together for a roundtable discussion. It will be broadcast at waronthehorizon.com. It'll probably be simulcast here as well. But that roundtable should be, I don't know if everybody will be able to participate, but I think it should be both members of Brothers Keeper. We played a lot of that music here, and they've been guests here. Sister Nefertari from the Children of Southampton. King Samir of the New Black Panther Party. Louis Ali, he has his own radio program in Louisiana discussing racism, white supremacy. Sister Fasami at Drop Squad, she has her own radio program right here at Blog Talk Radio. She talks exclusively about racism, white supremacy. The Irritated Genie of Southeast and myself, all of us will be together on the same show discussing racism, white supremacy. And this show should happen once a month, the last Saturday of every month. So the first time this happens will be Saturday, October 30th. And Justice, I forgot, Justice should be in that roundtable as well. But that should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, real excited. Victims getting together to hopefully do constructive work. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please check the wish list. Anybody, if you want to contribute to the Cows, you can invest as always, or you can get any of the books that are on my wish list. Go to Amazon.com and just Gus T Renegade. Just do my name, and you'll see my wish list. I actually have a headset. If anybody, if you really want to be helpful, a headset, that would be great. I have a great microphone from Ross 43, but I really dig having a headset. Those are great to have. So anybody, if you'd like to help, headset. Thank you all for listening to the program. Huge thanks to Pam for hanging out with us again. I hope it was a constructive investment of your Wednesday evening. And I will give the final word to you if you have anything you'd like to share in closing.
Well, I'd like to thank you for having me on again and listening to the callers in comments. I learned something. I learned quite a bit. I didn't make that connection with the rainbow. The ladies who talked about, who also filled in some of the blanks. So I have a better understanding just from being on the show. So I thank all of you, and I'm looking forward to coming on again in the future.
We will be looking forward to hearing from you. As I said, always a treat. Those programs where you are with us, they're always super popular. People have a lot of respect for your views, and I think a lot of folks, they really look forward to hearing from you. Mr. Nero wasn't even here today. I know he's a big fan of yours, and he didn't even get to call in live. Mr. Nero, if you're listening, right on, Key Investor, thank you for your support, sir. We'll be back tomorrow, same show time, and Pam, she'll be back very soon, just a couple weeks, she'll be back to chat about the new book. So continue listening if you find it constructive, and make sure any conversations about for colored girls, everything should start with, did you know the person who authored that play attempted suicide unsuccessfully 4 times? And then, just see what else they have to say. And again, Pam's comment of the day, I'm going to make sure to use that consistently. An attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. Love that one. I'm going to use it consistently. Context of white supremacy. Please replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you for supporting me. Cal signing out.
Good night.